Hi there. My name is Audrey Neufeld, and I've been a happy member of the Chilliwack Players Guild since 1983, when I first auditioned for a show called Music Man, got a part, and I was one of the 4 little old biddies on stage, thoroughly enjoying it. There was a lot of music and singing and a great cast. And because it was my first play, I was so worried about being on time and doing everything right. And at one point during the play, I thought, okay, now I have to hurry because I have to change my clothes. So I ran off and went downstairs, got changed and had the new outfit on. And the director walked by the door and he said, "Aren't you supposed to be on stage?" And I said, "Oh my God." So I took those clothes off, put the old, ran upstairs and managed to get right in line with the others and keep on singing. I thought, oh my, I was so embarrassed. And I couldn't believe I did such a stupid thing. Here I thought I was going to be the first ready to go for the next act, and I was the last for the last act. Actually, it was pretty bad, but it's been a fun time. Everything we've done. I've been to a lot of British nights, and that's the fun thing that I like to do, sing on stage, never mind acting. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. It's a long time. Hi there.
I'm Judy Hill. I've been a member of the Players Guild since 1982, and I've done this and that behind the scenes and on stage and so on and so forth. A lot of musical stuff. And a lot of the outtakes that you'll be hearing it probably are going to be about when you know something went really wrong. And this story is actually something I did. It's really nice if you can blame it on somebody else, but this is something I did, and I didn't even know it was wrong. It was 1989. And we were doing a show called Easy Avenue, and I was playing incidental music for it. But this keyboard I had some amazing voices. It had, all kinds of sound effects. So we figured, well, because it was kind of a minimalist set, we could help set some of these things with sound. So there was a scene, it was set in the 50s, and there was a scene where people were going into a bank. So we thought, well, that's great. We'll have typewriter sounds. So we get to that scene, and I'm tapping away, and the speaker for the sound effects was on the other side of the stage, so I couldn't actually hear it. And so I'm tapping, and what I was tapping was bird sounds. So they're walking into the bank, and it's filled, and because I'm typing fast, it's filled with these maniacal birds. And so the actors had to keep a straight face somehow and continue with their scene, and I guess the people backstage were just enrolling on the floor, and I had no idea. And it wasn't until I went downstairs after the act where everybody was that I found out what I'd done, and I was quite upset. I felt so stupid, but this group, everybody instantly made me forget that I had felt like a complete idiot. And and I was thinking this morning, somebody could have said to me, "Wow, you typed 50 birds a minute," but nobody actually said that. So, hey there, that's my story.
Hi, I'm Christine Newsom. I've been a member of the Chilliwack Players Guild since 1982. So quite a long time. The first of my stories is about a play called Opening Night, which was quite a few years ago. I was middle-aged at the time, and it was a story about a couple who were not really getting along very well anymore. They had kind of lost the spark. And on their anniversary, she happens to win, and I play the she, happens to win a ticket to the opening of a play. And so they go, he agrees to go. But it's also the World Series occurring at the same time. So unbeknownst to her, he has a little device in his pocket and something in his ear so he can hear the game. And it kind of just deteriorates, and things are not going well for them, and she's getting more and more and more upset. So I have this big speech, a very big emotional speech, and I perform it right at the edge of the stage out towards the audience. And this happened on dress rehearsal night. And we used to invite members of the public who are in nursing homes to come and see the shows. They could see it free. We would have a little bit of an audience, which is always nice to get that feel before you launch into the show. And as I walked up to the edge of the stage, I noticed that right there in the front row was a very elderly lady, and with somebody who obviously was her carer. So I started to this speech, and I need to build intensity and so on and so forth. And I could just see out of the corner of my eye that this lady is getting quite agitated, and her carer was trying to calm her down a little bit. And so just as I get to the middle of the speech, this little lady leaps to her feet, runs at me on the stage, and she said, "Do you know where the bathroom is?" I honestly didn't know what to do. Your mind is just racing, you know, and I just thought, okay, well, it's dress rehearsal. I can afford to stop and answer her. So I did stop, and then her carer just rushed up behind her and sort of ushered her off into the bathroom area. And I thought, okay, well, now what do I do? And because that speech required such intensity, I thought, well, I have to start again. So I just took a step back and then a step forward and just started again. But that became a bit infamous because it's always interesting having an audience who may or may not be all there. So that's the first story. The second story, much later in time, it was 3 or 4 years ago, we did Calendar Girls. And I played one of the Calendar Girls, and it was great fun. Such a wonderful cast where everybody has equal size parts, and just tremendous fun. And we had a very long scene in the first act where I had one entry and then went off stage and then came in again for a very pivotal scene later in that scene. And I forgot all about the second scene, second entry, and I had gone all the way over to the other side of the stage, backstage, waiting for my entrance in the next scene. And I'm listening, and I'm thinking, God, I'm supposed to be on stage. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Because I have quite a funny and pivotal line in that scene, and it was coming up really fast. So what's happening on the stage is the local gentry has come to open the spring fete. So she's standing on this little dais, and then the audience is sitting in chairs. I'm supposed to be in one of those chairs at that point. And so she's spouting off, and I hate this woman. My character hates her. And so I thought, well, I have to get on. So I'll just do an exaggerated sneak onto the stage, which I did, totally pulling focus from what was going on that people should be watching, but I had no other choice. And I had just got my behind in the chair when that line came up. So I was able to deliver it, and it was funny. And I just apologized to everybody after that, because everybody kind of has to scramble, you know, when you're not where you're supposed to be or saying what you're supposed to say. Happens a lot in theater, but I think I got away with that one not too badly.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bob Odette, and I've been with the Guild for about 13 years now. And I'll just tell you a couple of stories that when I first started with the Guild, and basically something that's happened recently. But over the past 13 years, I've been mostly involved with helping building the sets, and sometimes the stage crew to change the props and make sure everything is going right. So one of the first productions I was involved in, I came in to watch the program, and I could see a hole in one of the walls. I could see a bunch of light through it, and I thought, oh my God, how did that happen? So I raced around back looking for something to plug this hole up with, and I found some black tape, found the hole, plugged, felt real proud of myself. But after I sat back and watching the production, when the stage goes dark, that would never have even appeared. Nobody would have even seen it. So that's just so you know, when you're starting, you don't know what's really happening back there. But I think somebody drilled that hole on purpose backstage so they could see and look out at the audience, because it was a perfectly roundable hole. Last year, we were put on a production. It was opening night, and we got the headsets on in the back, and we're asked, is all the actors there ready to go? 2 minutes, curtain, lights go out. All of a sudden I hear, oh my God. And I looked, and the main actor, one of the main actors, his belt broke. And his pants were falling off. I said, we're not ready. We need a new belt here. Well, you're not going to find a belt in a minute and a half. So what do? Thinking, the 13 years of experience, off comes my belt. It fits him, but now I have to hold my pants up. And so I'm going on stage and have time to change the things up. So with my left hand in my pocket, hold my pants up and make the changes with my right hand and then off the stage. So those a couple experiences going back when I first started 13 years ago, and not knowing that that hole wouldn't have made any difference anyway, and how quickly you can then think many years later to somebody has a problem and something comes to mind, and the show went on. Hi.
Hi, my name's Brad Whitaker. I've been with the Chilliwack Players Guild since 1982, so that's about 44 years. Wonderful experience. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Noises Off first production that we had in the old art center, and it was a set that was a 2-story set with a curved staircase and a big window underneath, and the whole set actually turned around in between acts, so all related to that particular production. And so the director, who's Clint Hames, asked me to trip over at the top of the stairs, fake tripping over a bag, and do 2 somersaults down the stairs and fall onto the stage. So the very first time I did that, I went down, and it wasn't easy doing 2 somersaults on this wooden stage, and I fell on the floor, and he came up to me and said, when you fall, can you face this way? She says, yeah, okay, right. And in dress rehearsal night, when there's a big window in the set and the audience sees through the window what's happening behind the set, and I'm supposed to leap forward and so they can see me in the window, through the window. And my partner there, she was the actress, was with me, and I leaped forward and I caught the end of the couch underneath my throat, and I can hardly speak. And I'm trying to recover my voice because I have to go back on stage. And afterwards, she said, oh, I thought you were just a really good actor. And the third thing is, as I mentioned, the set turned around. It was on casters. And we had 2 people, at least 6'9" each, rotating the set. And what happened the very last night, on the very last turn, once they finished the turn, the caster broke off. And so if we had to change the set again, we couldn't have. We would have to stop the show. We remounted Noises Off in the new Cultural Center. It was the first play the Players Guild did there. And opening night, and the director again was Clint Hames, and he's on a plane flying from Eastern Canada. And we're in the set, and it's a play that goes wrong. And all those things go wrong. And all of a sudden, all the lights went out in the Cultural Center. And so someone went out there, sorry, you'll have to go home. We've lost lighting. And they thought it was part of the play. Second one person came out. Oh, you have to go home. And everyone's just laughing away. And the third time, someone finally came after a while, and they actually convinced them that the lights had gone out. We can't get them back on because a car hit a power pole and knocked off all the lights into that neighborhood. But they wouldn't leave. They thought it was part of the play. And if I just may add just one thing too, a colleague of mine at the university, we talk about theater, he's from London, he said, I saw Noises Off in London. I said, it was terrible. It was. I left at intermission. I said, I saw the production in Chilliwack. It was way better. So I said, thank you. He says, why are you thanking me? He says, I was in it. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Kim Isaac. I've been a member of the Guild for probably about 15 years, but my husband's been a member for over 40, and a lot of my friends have been members for decades, so I've had a long history with the Guild. But my story is about 2013, which was the only time I ever auditioned for, and I was cast in a production, and it was one of the Chilliwack Players Guild's amazing British night productions, which they used to have every couple of years, were tremendously popular, and I was really excited to be cast that year, mostly just in the chorus, which meant that I sang with the whole group and sang in smaller groups and that, and it it was a lot of fun. The story that I remember is in one of the numbers was a medley of British pub songs, and it was the whole company was on stage for that, and we sang, you know, one or two pub songs, and then there was a pause when one of the actors, John Pronger, was playing the bartender, and it was set in a pub. We all had mugs of beer, fake beer. John Pronger, the bartender, said something like, all right, lads and lassies, at 11 o'clock we stops. Let's raise the glass in the name of Charlie Mops. Charlie Mops was the character in the story, the next song that came out, who was apparently the guy who invented beer, right? So we've done this several nights already, and we're singing away our pub songs with our mugs in the air and that, and we stop so John can deliver his line, and he goes, all right, lads and lassies, at 11 o'clock we quits. And I'm thinking, what's he going to rhyme with quits? And for some reason that just gave me the giggles, because all I could think of was, you know, the obvious word, and it was a family-friendly production, so, and I just got the giggles, and I could feel the tears rushing to my eyes, and I couldn't sing. So for the next number, the song about Charlie Mops, I'm just kind of going. Everybody else, I don't know if they didn't notice or if they were just way more professional than me, but they just carried on and sang. And finally, it was the end of the number, and I got off the stage and I talked to John, and I just laughed and laughed and laughed till I cried. And by the way, he just delivered the line that was as it was supposed to be. It didn't rhyme, but it didn't really matter. I don't think the audience noticed, but I remember that.
Yeah, my name is John Pronger. I've been a member of the Guild for just over 50 years. And I've done quite a few shows, and usually make a mistake in each one somewhere along the line. But the one that I want to record for you is we were doing And Then There Were None, which is held on an island. So we do this island one, and I played Narrowcut the boatman, and there was the maid, and the butler was over by the fireplace. So I come up the steps with two baggage as the boatman, knock, 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 and knock on the door. The maid opens the door, and we're, oh, hello, you've brought the baggage up, some of it, yes. And she looks round, she says, there's not much furniture in here, is there? And my line was, no. People like places bare, it seems. That was the official line. Come this night, she comes to the door. Not much furniture in here, is there? No, rich people like places, rich folk like people bare, it seems. Well, the maid, Dale Prophet, Alan Legg over the butler over by the fireplace, and I said, and I have to go and get some more baggage, and off I went. I don't know what happened to the two. I guess there was a few titters in the audience. Some of them picked it up, but I just, well, so what? You know, I said it and it's done. And that was one of my deals.
Okay, Mary Spaney is my name. I am a member since 2002, I believe. So, and I was costume mistress for many years, but haven't been for the past two. And my story goes back to 2011. We were doing a show called Drowsy Chaperone, which was a really fun musical set in 1920s. And it was a story of backstage because myself and my cohort, partner in crime, Crystal Romano, were backstage to do fast changes. And there was a really cute number with the two so-called henchmen. They were the bad guys. I don't know what you call them, I guess enforcers. Anyway, they had a really fun song and dance routine that was, they had chef's caps on and short pants, and they were really funny. Anyway, very energetic number. The two of them are on stage, and Crystal and I were backstage waiting for fast change time, and I always wear a little apron with pockets, and it's full of things like safety pins and hairpins and thread and needle and scissors and that kind of stuff that you might need backstage, and a flashlight, always a flashlight. Anyway, we're watching the show from back there, and this young man who was about 6'5", very tall, big, and I had him in a chef's hat that was very tall, so he looked enormous on stage. Anyway, he's dancing around, and he did a quick jump and landed, and from where we were, we could see the back end of his pants split from the fly all the way up the back. And it was like, oh my God. And I don't think anybody on the audience saw it because he had an apron on the front, so you couldn't see it. But when he came off, he was coming off, and we knew they had an encore, like a final bit for the chorus, and they had to come off and they'll go right back on within seconds. And I was standing there backstage, so Crystal got the flashlight and I got the thread and needle ready. And when he came off stage, I asked him if he trusted me. And he said, yeah. So I got him to stand with his legs a little bit apart, and she put the flashlight down there, and I laid on the floor and stitched him up from front to back, all the way up, so he could get back on stage in time. The chorus was just starting, and his partner had gone on ahead of him, so we got the last bit done. And he made it. Nobody knew until he came off, and we were helping him with his change, and I had sewed his pants to his underwear. So I had to give him the scissors to cut himself out. And basically that was it. Nobody else knew until after, but Dayton and I laughed over that for quite a long time, and I had to thank him for trusting me because I sewed that sucker up real fast. He was very, very cute. He was a really nice young man, and I miss him. Anyway, that's my story. Okay, Mary Spain.
My name is Deborah Archer. I've been a member of the Players Guild since the early 70s. I started in school with the drama teacher there, and then I was gone for a few years and then came back, and I'm still here. My story is short and sweet, and it's the usual forgot to come in on your cue, which always does cause havoc on the stage when you're not there. So I was in a musical review show with a couple of the other ladies that you've already met today, and we called it British Nights, and it was funny skits and songs, and this particular one was about World War II. So I was part of the Andrews sisters, and there was 3 of us, and we always had this weird choreography like the Andrews sisters do, and one of our members thought, okay, I can't just do this every night, I have to run through it with you guys before. So we went backstage and down the hall, and always right in front of the mirror, we'd be practicing our part and tucking our shirts in to make sure that our hats were the same. And all of a sudden, out of the wall comes our entry music. And we were supposed to be on stage singing our song. And of course that didn't happen at the right time. We all went, oh my gosh, that's us. We were quite a ways from the stage. And there was our musical director, which was Judy, playing our song. We call it vamping. Do, 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 do. We had to run all the way down a hall, all the way down another hall, and up 4 steps to the stage. By the time we got up there, we were exhausted, and we went out, and Judy still maintained her aplomb and decorum and vamped a little bit longer. But the funny part was, I guess as soon as we were supposed to be on stage, they turned our mics on, and from that dressing room to the stage there might have been a fair bit of profanity because we had forgotten to get there. The saving grace was not everybody could hear it, because we had the piano playing on the stage, but it was still mic'd. It was still coming through. So maybe the audience didn't hear as much, but everybody on headphones, backstage, on stage, yeah, it probably wasn't a ladylike thing, but we made it. We did fine. All is well. Your general, miss a cue and you'll never do that again.
Hi there, my name's Graham Archer. I've been with the Players Guild since 1979. I joined because I started working with a fellow who was involved, and he just said, come on out and help build sets. And I've been doing that and other things ever since. I think I'm at show number 153 now over the years. So one of my favorite shows to do, and we've done it twice over the years, is called Noises Off. It's been billed as probably the funniest play ever written, and it involves a theater company putting on a play. And at the beginning of the play, the audience doesn't know that they're watching a rehearsal for the play until the director comes up on stage. But the premise of the play is that you watch them rehearse the first act of their play, and then at intermission, it's a 3-act play. The first intermission, the set revolves completely. So you now see backstage of the set. And then you watch them do the same act again, but they're on the opposite side of the wall doing the act, and you're watching the shenanigans going on backstage. Because at this point, lots of the members of the cast are either in love with each other or hate each other or whatever, and there's all kinds of practical jokes and things going on backstage. And then for the 3rd act, it turns around again, and it's supposedly 3 weeks into their run. The cast can't stand each other anymore, and everything goes wrong with the act. With the rotating of the set, we had the set in the old art center. We had to build it so that the back unit, which is 2 stories tall because there has to be a staircase, we had it revolving on casters. And so we would lever it up at intermission, turn it around, and then drop it into place. Well, on the last night, the last run, the last time we rotated the thing, one of the casters collapsed completely when it was about a foot away from where it needed to be. But we managed to just fudge the rest of it, and the audience didn't notice that there was a bit of a gap in the set this time. And if it had been any other time, if it had been the rotation before that or whatever, we would have been like, what do we do? You can't do anything with that. Then we remounted the play some, I think, 18 years later, and a lot of the original cast were in it, but in different parts, older parts and whatever. And I played Lloyd, the director of the play within the play, as we were going on. And it was our first production in the new cultural center, so we knew it was popular and it would be a good seller. But the first Friday night we were doing the show over there, we'd gotten into the first act, and the cast was mucking up their lines on stage, and so then the director, me, comes out of the audience and starts giving them hell and saying, do this, do that, and whatever. Just then, a car hit a power pole outside the cultural center, and the power went out. So we just had to stand there in a blackout for a few minutes, and then the emergency lights came on, and then we said to the audience, sorry, we'll have to continue the play in a little while. We'll just see what's going on. Eventually, long story short, they said it was going to be at least 4 hours before they put it on. So we had to cancel the show, and we said, refund your money and whatever. And the cast was standing by the exit doors watching the crowd go out, thanking them for coming and apologizing and whatever. And quite a few of the patrons who weren't as familiar with the Players Guild, we overheard them saying, well, I'm not coming back because they didn't even know their lines. It wasn't very good. So to this day, I think there's still credits over there for people that never got their money back because they didn't want to come back because it was so bad. Intentionally so. Yeah, and then we also did, back in the late 80s, we did One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which of course takes place in an asylum, and it's all about a fellow that's just goes there so he can avoid going to jail, and tries to sort of take over the inmates and whatever. And at the end, it's deemed that he needs to escape before they're going to lobotomize him or whatever because he's so rowdy. Well, his great big friend, the scene at the end of the play, very poignant as it's supposed to be, is he picks up the electrical transformer that's in the room and rips it off the floor and throws it through the window to facilitate the escape. Well, we decided that for the prop and how this would work was we had some contact points, electrical contact points hooked to a battery underneath the box, so that when he lifted it up, the two contacts touched and it set off a little bit of flash powder. So you got sparks and everything when he lifted it up, and it looked incredible. Went well until closing night. Now the stagehand who was in charge of doing the little bit of flash powder, well, we bought a vial of it. It's quite expensive, but you used like not even a quarter of a teaspoon every night. Well, when we got to final night, there was about this much left, and it's got a shelf life. So he thought, oh well, I'll just put it all in. So when it came to the scene at the end, Ken, the actor, went, grabbed the box, picked it up, and there was this whoomph of flame that shot out from underneath the thing. And he, being the gamer he was, he continued on. He threw it through the window. The scene continued. Meanwhile, there's this little fire in the electrical box just going on, and the crowd is oohing and awing at this. And then that's the end of the play, and there's supposed to be blackout curtain call. Well, it's blackout. There's still this little flame sort of sputtering on stage, and the stage manager is saying, somebody get out there and put it out, because I'm not putting the lights up for curtain call until the light's out.
Hi, my name is Maggie Saunders. I've been with Chilliwack Players Guild for 10 years. I currently volunteer mostly in the costume department, so I love doing costuming. But I did for one of the radio plays, several actually, but the first one, I was the sound Foley. So our wonderful set designer, Graham, created a pair of stairs, a set of stairs for me, because we needed to be able to go up and down a two-story building. So police, ladies in high heels, all of them. So I wanted to find out how that would sound. So I needed to get some different kinds of shoes, some boots, some heels, some different types of whatever, to find out how they would work best for the play. So I came upstairs to the costume room, and our wonderful costume manager was there, and I said to her, this is wonderful. I said, do you mind if I go through the shoes? And she said, no problem. So I said, okay, I would like to sign out these 4 left shoes. And she looked at me and said, oh, I'm so sorry. She said, but we don't lend them out for personal use. I said, but they're left shoes. And she said, I know, but they're for your personal use. I said, no, actually, I probably should have explained to you at the beginning that it's the sound Foley for the radio. And I'll only be using left shoes because I don't need 2 shoes. To this day, I still laugh when I think about what I would be doing with 4 left shoes.
Hi, my name is Carol Taylor, and I've been a member of the Chilliwack Players Guild for 34 years. And I was in a play that on opening night, the construction crew came to us and said that the set is built strong and I want you to use it. Do not baby this set. So midway through the first act, one of the characters leaves, and it's a kitchen set, and so there's cabinets and a total kitchen. One of the characters leaves the set she's angry, and leaves it and slams the door. And the countertop slips over and covers the door, so she will not be able to come back on stage. So we're keeping the scene going, not missing any lines, and I'm looking around and I see, okay, there's a canister set there. If I can somehow lift up the counter top, the cabinet top, we can shove that under and she can get back on stage. So I'm motioning to my co-actor, and she's coming over and she gets what I'm doing. So, and I didn't even know if I'd be able to lift it, but I did. I lifted it up. She shoves the canister underneath, and in walks the rain in through the door. And Of course, the audience goes crazy, clapping, 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 and Lorraine doesn't know, why is everyone clapping? I'm just coming in. And then, of course, during intermission, the crew came in and actually affixed the cabinet properly. And no one knew that the canister was no longer keeping it in place. So at the very end, people are angry at the hostess of this event. And so they want to take everything that she has in that kitchen. They're taking everything. And the very last thing, the woman goes up to and grabs the canister, and the audience are, oh, crazy, crazy. And they didn't know it had been refixed. And we got a huge standing ovation. The director was happy, and so were the actors.
Hi there. My name is Ken Finn. I've been with the Jill Black Players for about 7 years. So, a little story. I was doing a theater show called The Passion of Dracula. I played Van Helsing. Wonderful time. Gothic set, very nicely set up. We had a very special effect. We had this 4-foot bat that came from the balcony on a line, flew down over the audience, through the doors going out to the outdoor garden, and it was just a fantastic effect. The one day, of course, it flew down and stopped right above me. I didn't know this. I had a box filled with garlic and crosses, and the fellow that was on stage with me said, "What is that for?" I said, "To keep away the vampires." Of course, the audience laughed. I had no idea what they were laughing about. I didn't know that it was right above me. I looked, and some of the other characters on stage actually turned their back to the audience because they were laughing. And the fellows that were up on the balcony decided, well, what we'll do is we'll cut the line that has the bat on it. So the bat dropped directly onto the stage in front of me. Of course, the audience laughed. What could I do? I asked if the butler could come and clean up the mess. And that's my story.